Hi, I'm Maggie.
Hi, I'm Mark, and this is
Spatial Report. Welcome to the Esri Canada podcast that connects our user community with the latest and coolest trends in the world of ArcGIS. On today's show,
as the summer heats up, it's time to take your GIS indoors. We'll chat with our Indoors Insider about all things indoor mapping.
Then our GeoGeek gives us the scoop on all the new features in the latest release of ArcGIS Online.
And finally, we played the GIS version of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, M versus M.
The summer is sizzling, and so are our hot GIS takes. So let's go. So Mark, it's summertime, the weather is great, and things are going well. How are you enjoying July so far?
July is a lovely time of year here on the West Coast. It's sunny, it's mild. So far, so good. Can't complain. How about you?
Things are great here, except I did manage to completely burn most of my upper body over the long weekend. So I'm suffering the consequences of lazy sunscreen application this week.
Oh, that's the worst. Hope you're okay.
Oh, I'm fine. This happens every year, but I forget and then I relearn. Maybe one day I'll just always have sunscreen on, but probably not anytime soon.
Yeah, you're definitely going to need some sunscreen coming up in a couple of weeks, right?
I know. I'm so excited. I'm going to the user conference this year. It's going to be really cool.
I know, and that's probably what's making us Mappy this month is the whole Esri user conference that's happening in San Diego between July, 15th to 19th?
Yep, July 15th to 19th. It's going to be really great to be there in person and meet with all of the different GIS users from around the world. I'm really excited. I've never been before.
I know, it is a really exciting time. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to?
I think really it's just going to be meeting other people because I feel like, since 2020, it's been hard to sort of connect in person with a lot of the GIS community. So number one thing I'm looking forward to is just meeting our Canadian customers who are coming down and other people from the GIS community who make it out to the conference. I know there's a lot of people going this year, so I'm really excited for Canada Night. Come and meet up with me. I'll be there working the door. So I'm really excited to get to see everybody face to face.
You're going to be the bouncer at the door at Canada Night. That's exciting.
Yeah, bring your passport. I'm checking. No, not really.
Well, if you do meet Maggie at Canada Night, definitely say hi to her and tell her that you listen to the podcast. I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'll give you a pin if you're a listener, or even if you're not. Come talk to me. Tell someone to talk to me. I'm excited to meet everybody. And then, of course, I really want to hear what's going on at the plenary. I know there's exciting people coming down. I'm looking forward to Jeff Kirby's talk. I think it's going to be cool to hear what he's doing with the environment. And I know there's a lot of big things that are happening in the world of GIS. So just hearing all that in person, it's pretty exciting. I've heard good things every year since I've started here. You got to go to the UC, and it's finally happening. But you've been a few times, haven't you, Mark?
Yeah, I guess I am the jaded veteran, so won't be going this time around. But I do have some advice if you want some.
Absolutely. I'm sure I will take your advice, and I'm sure anyone listening will too.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first of all, that Monday plenary, the first event, it's really incredible because that's the first time you realize how big Esri is. When you have 20,000 people storming into the convention center to see that first presentation, you definitely have to soak in the moment and really enjoy that. And then, of course, you got the Thursday night party. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So this is out at Balboa Park, where there's like a number of museums that are open just for us. So they block off the entire park, and you can wander around the museums, and there's food stands, and there's entertainment, and there's ice cream, and it is really a cool event, especially for the first timers. So you do have to board some buses. So the key is to get on that bus early because you want to get up and get access to the food first when you're up there.
Right.
Okay, so that's very important.
Pro tip.
That's right. As you know, I'm always scoping for the food, so you gotta definitely get that. And then finally, it's San Diego. It's July. It's perfect weather. It's one of the most perfect cities in terms of climate. So take advantage of that, right? Go around, go to Old Town, wander the streets, go to the Gaslamp Quarter, go to Coronado.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see San Diego. Last time I was there, I was 6. I don't remember anything. I think I think I went to the zoo, but I am going to be going to a Padres game, so that's really exciting.
Yes, and then for us losers who have to hang out here, do not fret. The plenary will be broadcast live, so if you want to watch the plenary, you can register and sign up to watch that. And we'll also have a number of watch parties across the country. So if you do want to get together and network with your fellow users, those watch parties are there as well. And if you happen to listen to this after the user conference, again, don't fret. The plenary will be recorded, so you can watch those recordings at any time, and a lot of the technical sessions as well will also be recorded, so you can enjoy those at a future time. So yeah, UC season, it is the best. I hope you have a great time, Mags.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do it. And anyone who is coming down, I also did make a story map that highlights all of the Canadians who are presenting. So if you want to check that out, we'll put that in the description of the video so you can go and support your fellow Canadian GIS experts.
Have a great time in San Diego, and I'm sure we'll debrief when you get back.
Absolutely.
All right, well, coming up next, we are going inside the Arc, literally, to talk about indoor mapping.
When you think about GIS data, you normally think of things like parcels, streets, trees, or boundaries. But more and more organizations are taking their GIS inside. From space utilization to wayfinding, indoor GIS is impacting facility management and mapping.
To tell us more about the present and future of indoor GIS, we are joined today by Alistair McDougall. He is a product specialist for indoor GIS at Esri Canada, and he is our resident expert of all things ArcGIS Indoors. Alistair, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm sure a lot of people know that ArcGIS Indoors is a product, but don't know a lot about it. So tell us more about what ArcGIS Indoors is and what are its key benefits.
Sure. So, I mean, you guys on the show talk a lot about, different types of maps, different use cases for GIS. And, I think it's funny because we've mapped the surface of Mars, the moon, the ocean floor. Yet, for whatever reason, we haven't got around to mapping much of the environment where we tend to spend the majority of our time, which is, of course, the interior of buildings. I guess, in the most basic terms, ArcGIS Indoors allows you to create indoor maps. And indoor maps, like any other map, help us situate ourselves in our environment and locate things that are important to us, right? Like that could be people, that could be, real time, people in real time. So where are Mark and Maggie right now? Or it could be, where are there assigned office location? It could be places like any kind of room, a meeting room in an unfamiliar office, or it could be any kind of asset or data point that's located in the indoors. So really, anytime we're in an unfamiliar indoor environment, then indoor maps could be beneficial to us. A couple specific examples, if you can imagine, we've all been there, but a patient arriving at a hospital, maybe to a clinic that they're not familiar with, they can check into a kiosk, view an indoor map, get wayfinding directions to that location. A contractor going to complete a work order or something like that at a facility that they're not familiar with, they can be provided with a mobile app that allows them to find their work location, to go and do that work without being kind of led around and handheld the whole time. You can imagine, in the event of an emergency, first responders are often arriving on the scene without any great prior knowledge of the environment. So a medical emergency inside a busy convention center, the ability to hand first responders a tablet or a mobile device with an indoor map already loaded, hopefully that's going to allow them to locate that individual or that location much quicker than they would be without it. So that's kind of some examples of how indoor GIS can really benefit organizations. ArcGIS Indoors as a product, we like to say it's a complete indoor mapping and geographic information system. So it's a system of record for capturing and storing your building data, a system for analyzing your building data and what's happening inside your facilities, and then a system of engagement to provide your users, which in this case tends to be the folks who are working or visiting your buildings, with information products that allow them to interact with this data and to do some of the use cases that I mentioned previously, such as wayfinding and to be able to search for locations and things like that. So ArcGIS Indoors is comprised of a few different components. We have a desktop component. So tools in ArcGIS Pro that allow you to create the ArcGIS Indoors data model, which is just a data model designed to hold building information. Tools that allow us to convert our floor plan data from either CAD or BIM formats, convert that into Esri geodatabase format, and then create our indoor maps, create and publish our indoor maps. We have a WebGIS component, so something that you would deploy to either ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. So that would be a web application, a configurable web application that we can build out of the box. And it also has a mobile app as well that you can download from the iOS or Google Play app stores. So those are kind of the two components of ArcGIS Indoors. You have the desktop component, and then you have the WebGIS component, and they can actually be purchased separately as well.
And I know you've sort of touched on little examples as you've been telling us about the products, but are there any sort of notable use cases or success stories of organizations that have implemented ArcGIS Indoors that you can share with us?
Well, I'll start with our most recent one here in Canada. So, Yukon University, their main campus based in Whitehorse, but they do have campuses throughout the territory. So, they have implemented ArcGIS Indoors and have just rolled it out at the start of their spring semester. So, their first day of classes. They're back in last month in May. So they provided mapping kiosks throughout the campus, so students or staff, of course, on their first day of work or first day of school could use the indoor mapping kiosk to find the location of their classes, the location of student services, and other points of interest throughout the campus. So that was a really good one to see because they're a small university. So it was just nice to see how you don't need to be some sort of massive organization with a huge GIS team. They really just have one crack GIS person who was able to configure this on their own. Yukon University, great job up there in Whitehorse. Another example, kind of on the other end of the spectrum, but remaining in the education sector, is an international case of ETH Zurich in Switzerland. They're one of the premier sort of STEM universities in the world. They have a whole, since 2021, smart campus kind of digital twin initiative with a real focus on accessibility. ArcGIS Indoors and ArcGIS IPS, which is our indoor positioning system. So they've rolled out both of those across some of their 58 building spread over two campuses, some 400 odd square footage. So they've employed the software to provide an accessible wayfinding solution. So they've done some really interesting things around kind of barrier-free wayfinding, also with an emphasis on color schemes and things like that for people with neurodivergent conditions, ADHD, and that kind of thing. So that was really cool to see as well, like a huge world-renowned institution using the software.
I'm sure you have some visions in your head of where this is all going. So, why don't you share where you think this is all heading? What future developments do you see for ArcGIS Indoors and just Indoors GIS in general?
Yeah, so it's a timely you should ask that because we have our sort of June releases, ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise 11.3. We've of course got the user conference coming up, so there's a lot of new kind of exciting stuff that's both going to be released this summer and also some things that will be announced that'll be released over the next year or so. So I guess starting in kind of a micro sense. So earlier this year, we released an application called Floor Plan Editor. So this is a web application which was previously only for ArcGIS Enterprise, which allowed you to edit your ArcGIS Indoors data in a web browser. So as of the June release for ArcGIS Online, the Floor Plan Editor app will be now available in ArcGIS Online as well. And that's the Floor Plan Editor. The fact that it's now available in ArcGIS Online, it's really about removing barriers to indoor GIS adoption, removing the dependency on tools like ArcGIS Pro, because in a lot of cases, the folks who are maintaining and creating this facility data, they're not necessarily situated in the GIS team, right? They might be facility people. They use GIS as a small portion of their work, as another tool in their tool belt, but they're not necessarily the kind of people that have maybe been trained for something like ArcGIS Pro, as we all know, is a fully featured application with a million different buttons that do a million different things. So Floor Plan Editor gives them a really focused web application that they can use to edit and maintain ArcGIS indoor data. That being available in ArcGIS Online and now having that fully as software as a service, a really exciting enhancement that we'll see later this summer. A couple other things that are a little bit further down the road, but are currently in active research and development right now. What we call progressive navigation in the indoors mobile application. So the indoors mobile is going through a rewrite right now. So we're going to see something we're going to see in the next generation of the mobile app is progressive navigation. So currently, when you are doing wayfinding in ArcGIS indoors, you get your turn by turn directions, but you have to kind of manually progress them as you're moving throughout the building. But now with the next generation application, those wayfinding directions will automatically read for you as you move through the facility, if you're in an environment that has indoor positioning enabled. So the experience will be much more akin to what people are used to with a GPS as you're driving in your car or something like that. There's no need to manually say, okay, I'm here now, I'm here now. It's just going to read those directions for you as you walk around. So that's really exciting. And I guess the final one that is going to be really cool, and again is kind of around removing barriers to adoption for the software, is the ability to take a point cloud generated through a lidar scan and directly convert that into an ArcGIS indoors floor plan. So right now we need CAD or BIM data. We convert that data and we build our floorware maps that way. But soon you'll be able to take a raw point cloud that you can create with you've probably seen, lidar can now be in handheld, so it's becoming like much more affordable itself in the hardware. So people will be able to take a handheld lidar, walk around the building, produce a point cloud, and then immediately create an ArcGIS indoors map with that in ArcGIS Pro. So that's going to be really great for organizations that don't necessarily have those CAD and BIM floor plans, or even have a new building that they're looking to map, or a renovation to an existing building. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. A lot of really exciting things coming in the world of indoor GIS. Thanks for sharing those with us. So, we always want to wrap it up with three things for everyone to remember because we've talked about a lot today. So, if you could just remind the audience or just let us know what are the three main takeaways that we should remember about indoor GIS?
First off, I just say, remember, indoor GIS, it's a multi-purpose mapping system. So it's not just for visitor kiosks. It's not just for facility management and asset management. It's not just for wayfinding or indoor positioning. So we can use the software in a multitude of different ways in different parts of the organization, and that's really where you see that return on investment in the software as well, when you're kind of taking those floor plans, those indoor maps, and you're using them for a variety of different purposes. So think of it less as a kind of point solution to just do some particular business case, and think about it more as a platform that we can reuse. Second, I'd say, indoor GIS, it's an open interoperable system. In our buildings, we have all kinds of different systems, right? We have building automation systems and asset management systems and integrated workspace management systems, indoor GIS. All these systems need to be able to talk to each other. They can't exist in a silo, or else they're not going to serve the greater purpose, right? And indoor GIS can really act as that kind of central hub for all these various systems to be brought together, and of course displayed on a map, and allow users to kind of get that complete picture of what's going on within their facility. So remember, indoor GIS is an interoperable system. And the final takeaway, this one's a little bit kind of technical, and I'm probably ending on a slightly boring note, but I have to talk about licensing. So when ArcGIS Indoors was originally released, the licensing model was done on or the pricing was based on the square footage of the area that you wanted to map. You also required a dedicated ArcGIS Enterprise instance to host your ArcGIS Indoors deployment. Late 2022, 2023, that has changed. So it's now a flat subscription fee for the entire area you want to map. And as I mentioned before, it's a capability you enable in your existing WebGIS, be it ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online. So if you've had a look at ArcGIS Indoors when it first came out, I would encourage you, if you thought maybe then the licensing model didn't suit your needs, please revisit it. Come talk to us, and we'll talk about the new licensing model, and hopefully it's more fit for your purposes.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Even the licensing stuff, everybody needs to know, and it's a
Need to
huge
know it.
change. So I'm glad to hear it. Thank you for joining us today on Spatial Report. That was Alistair McDougall. He is the product specialist for indoor GIS at Esri Canada, and he joined us today from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
For the full interview with Alistair, you can find it on the Esri Canada YouTube channel. And after this short break, we'll run down the latest advancements of ArcGIS Online with our GeoGeek.
From navigating everyday obstacles to tackling the most pressing issues facing our world today, tune in to Geographical Thinking to discover how geospatial solutions can help solve problems and drive positive change. My name is Michelle Brake, and I'll be your guide as we explore stories, ideas, and conversations through the lens of geography. Listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
It's now time for the GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring in a subject matter expert to talk more about what's new and noteworthy in our core ArcGIS products.
And it's our honor and pleasure to welcome back our ArcGIS Online GeoGeek to the show. Brandon Wheatley is a technical solutions specialist at Esri Canada, and he joins us today from Toronto. Brandon, it's great to chat with you again, and welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be here. Hey, Maggie. Hey, Mark. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, especially since last month we had a pretty exciting change. The June 2024 release of ArcGIS Online came out with lots of new features and enhancements, so I'm sure you're excited to share those with us today.
Yeah, very much so. It was a quite a big update. Lots of new features and new additions. So yeah, I'm very excited to get into it and talk about it today.
For sure. And before we can get to the fun, exciting changes, there is some really important stuff we wanted to cover right at the beginning, and that is the change to the user types. So there was a big change with the user types and the way that works in ArcGIS Online. Could you give our listeners a little bit of an overview of what that change was?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then not every update is a feature or a new function or a new tool. So chances are there's a good chance you've heard of the new user types. And so these have now been implemented and automatically applied in ArcGIS Online with the June product update. When logging into your ArcGIS Online organization, you should see some sort of a message or a pop-up to let you know that those user types have in fact been updated. They'll be accompanied by a link, which is going to take you to a page that gives you a lot more details and breakdown as to what those changes are and how those may impact you in your organization. And as much as I would love to dive into the details of all of those little changes, I don't think I quite have the airtime to get into all of it today. But I kind of going to give you a bit of an overview and let you know that, we understand with change, things can be kind of tricky to navigate, or there's some decisions to be made in the short term. And we certainly understand that, but we're here to support you, our users, through this process. And overall, the main reason for this change was to streamline our user license model to help make sure that you're selecting the correct user type, and really to make that process a lot easier to help maximize your ArcGIS Online subscription. And so I can say we're going with 7 user types that have now been we're going with 6 moving forward. And so some of those have been renamed. Some of them have been revised in terms of, what capabilities or bundles come with it in terms of other applications like ArcGIS Pro, and then some more advanced add-ons. But one of the biggest changes you may notice is that our GIS Professional Basic and our Creator user types previously are now being merged into one. And so that's likely going to be one of the bigger changes. And so now this boosts a lot of the capabilities that was previously with Creator. And I think that that's really going to help streamline and make a lot of the decision making when it comes to who gets what type of user level a little bit easier than it was before. And I'm sure a lot of people have questions and are more curious about all of that. And I'm happy to let you know that we'll be sharing all of those details in a webinar coming up in July here. And it'll be hosted by myself and Justin Broussard. So we'll be going over all of the new user types, what they're called, the new updates, and all the functionality that's going to be related to them. So be sure to sign up and register for that webinar.
All right, so let's get to the fun stuff. So I know there's a brand new application that has just been introduced that is designed specifically for data editing. Can you tell us more about ArcGIS Web Editor and what it does?
Yes, yeah, I would say might be other than the user types, one of the biggest updates or biggest features with this new update, something that I'm sure a lot of our users have been looking forward to for some time. So happy to announce that you're right, the ArcGIS Web Editor is here. It is a standalone application for both ArcGIS Online and Enterprise 11.3. And so it's a web-based application that lets you do more focused and efficient data editing directly with your hosted feature layers. So you don't necessarily need to jump into Pro anymore, make those edits, and then refresh and update those changes. You can do all of that right there in the web. But that's not to say either that this is here to replace ArcGIS Pro. That's not entirely the case. It's really just more so geared to give you another tool and another option and more flexibility when doing common edits, but while still taking advantage of some nice high-tech features like snapping and a lot of the other contextual applications and tools that you do find in ArcGIS Pro. And so with this first release of the web editor, you'll see a lot of the common editing tools and capabilities, but keep an eye out for future updates and future releases, as what you'll notice is that the list of capabilities and functionality there is going to continue to grow. So this isn't something necessarily that, we're just throwing out there and it's just going to kind of sit there. This is going to be a lot of add-ons and updates as we move forward. And I encourage you as well to even maybe get involved. Our Esri community pages usually feature a lot of suggestions and feedback and updates from our users. So we'd love to hear how you're using this new web editor, what you think of it, and feel free to add some suggestions as well. Something I'm super excited about, accessible right from the app launcher. Like I said, it's going to look a little bit, or actually quite a lot, like Map Viewer, but they are two separate applications and help keep those two environments separate. But I'm very excited to kind of see and hear from our users how this new web editor is working for them.
Absolutely. It's a really great application. I've tried it out in beta, and now that it's here, I'm really excited to see what people are going to do with it. And definitely, like you said, Brandon, give any feedback that you have so we can keep improving these applications for future use. But, there's another really exciting enhancement that I've been hearing about for a long time, a sort of a long awaited change to ArcGIS Online. And that in this release is the recycling bin. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and what that feature is?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's something we've been kind of waiting for a little bit. So I'm very excited to see this is now here as well. So again, when you've logged in, if you have since the update, you should see a pop-up that gives you a kind of a message to let you know that the recycle bin is here, and it's going to give you an option to either opt in or opt out of that capability. So it's not mandatory by any means, but it is an organizational wide setting. So keep that in mind, depending on who your users are and how they're interacting with things, whether you want that to be toggled on or off. A few other things to note with the way that the recycle bin works is that features will remain in the recycle bin for 14 days. So anything that you delete, if you need to go and restore it, it's very easy to do. It's going to be there for you for 2 weeks. But do keep in mind that during those 14 days, any of those hosted feature layers are going to continue to consume credits. So certainly something to keep in mind. And a way you can kind of think about the ArcGIS Online recycle bin is it does work and act in a lot of ways like the recycle bin for your computer. When you move something to the recycle bin on your computer, it's still taking up storage on your hard drive somewhere. It just may be moving it to a different location, and that ArcGIS Online recycle bin is just the same. So if you're looking to delete larger hosted feature layers, and you don't want to wait those 14 days, even with the recycle bin opted into or opted on, when you go and delete something, you can actually have the option right there to permanently delete the item. So you still get a choice as to how you want that hosted feature layer to be treated, but certainly something to keep in mind from a credits point of view that those 14 days are going to be something to keep in mind.
All right, we only got a couple of minutes left, and I know there's a ton of things that we could talk about in terms of what's new in ArcGIS Online, but this is kind of pick your favorite. So of all the other things that are out there, Brandon, what is one of your favorite features that you think our listeners should know about?
Just the one? I mean, like I said, this was a substantial update. So yeah, it's not as easy a task as you'd think. But I suppose since we're here, we're talking about some organizational settings. We're talking about credits. We'll keep on the same train of thought and let everyone know that there's also been some updates to the credit reporting tools. So before, you could always generate some reports about the credit consumption across your organization, but previously really only got results that showed credit usage consumed through tools. But the reports are a lot more robust now and give you a lot more information at a much more granular level as well. So you can now see credits for things like storage, types of storage, storage by individual users, as well as even by different applications. So you can see maybe how your users are consuming credits across different applications that you're using, and even across the whole organization. So there's a lot more flexibility in these reports now, giving you access to a lot more information to see how those credits are being consumed, and maybe find some ways to maybe be a little bit more efficient, or focus in on areas that you've got some more room to run some more tools now that you've noticed how few you may actually been using. So I'm really kind of excited and hope that this is a big help to not only our users, but the administrators of our users as well. And so kind of a nice tool to help give some more control and give some more feedback on how you're leveraging the Esri technology in the ArcGIS system.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because I know credit management is always an issue out there for ArcGIS Online users. So to have better reporting, more accurate reporting is something that everyone should be looking forward to. So that's great that you pointed that out, and all these other things that are going on with ArcGIS Online. And check out our website. We'll have links to all the other changes that are available as well with this latest update. So Brandon, we really appreciate you taking some time out today and talking to us about all things online.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark and Maggie, for having me. I look forward to rejoining and talking again. This was great.
That was our pal Brendan Wheatley, our correspondent for all things ArcGIS Online, and he joined us today from his home in Toronto.
During this break, I'll be warming up for my victory dance because M versus M is next.
It's time for M versus M, where all of my inside-out emotions show up. Sadness, anger, anxiety, apathy, despair, patheticness.
I don't think all of those are emotions, Mark, but I'm sorry that you have such a hard time with this game. I'm always feeling lots of joy playing M versus M.
So much joy. It makes me so sad.
The rules are simple. I'm going to be asking the questions this week, and if Mark gets 3 of them right, he wins. If Mark gets 3 wrong, I win. And the winner gets to sit back and relax while the other one reads our outro. So, pretty exciting and high stakes for this game.
Very high stakes.
This month, I was inspired by Canada Day because I was spending a lot of time up with my grandparents up north, and I was thinking about even just building these roads up into these more northern parts of Ontario and how difficult that would have been. So thinking about those land surveyors who are out in the wilderness, getting those roads made for us, mapping this country. And I was inspired by them to ask about land surveying and a little bit of Canadian history-ish in there. There's only 5 questions, so it's a pretty broad topic, but the general gist is surveying. All right.
God bless. Let's go.
Absolutely. Question 1 for you, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
The Dominion Land Survey System, which is one of the surveys done originally by the Hudson's Bay Company to establish that part of Canada, uses a standardized grid pattern for land ownership, and it was implemented in which of these 3 years? And these are all important years for Canada. One of them is the year the Dominion Land Survey started. Is it A, 1846, B, 1867, or C, 1871?
Oh boy, okay, well, 1867, that's Confederation year. So my guess is going to be after Confederation, so let's go with option C.
You're correct. It is 1871. It was after the Manitoba Act that they started doing that. So you're right, that's the year that the land survey system started. And then we also, the other date, if you're wondering, 1849 was when the first Survey General of Canada was named. Who is considered the father of Canadian surveying? So this is somebody who is pretty important in mapping Canada, and the options are A, Samuel de Champlain, pretty well-known guy, B, David Thompson, or C, Alexander Mackenzie.
Whoa, really? Alexander Mackenzie. Got it. I thought you were going to say Roger Tomlinson, but that's a whole different deal. You know what? Let's go with Alexander Mackenzie. Let's see if he's the man.
No, I thought I was going to make it easy for you by putting 2 well-known people besides someone maybe lesser known, but it's David Thompson, B. He is the father of Canadian surveying. He was the first Survey General of Canada, so the last date, David Thompson.
All right, I've tried.
All right, so 1-1. It's a tight race this week.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. The professional land surveying in Canada, sorry, is overseen by this governing body, this national governing body. What is the official name of this organization? So, is it A, the Canadian Land Surveyors Association, B, the Royal Canadian Geographic Society, or C, the Association of Canadian Land Surveyors? Some
Oh
similar
my.
names in there. Similar names. They are all real organizations.
I just love the sound of the royal. Let's go with the royals. Let's go with B.
Wrong.
Oh God.
that is a focus mostly on geography. The specific surveying one is the Association of Canadian Land Surveyors, or ACLS. That they're all real organizations. All right. So one more wrong, and I get another break. So this one. This one has nothing to do with Canada. It's just about surveying. Question number 4. What ancient civilization is credited with developing the earliest known surveying techniques? So, using geometry and astronomy to measure land areas. Is it A, the Egyptians, B, the Aztecs, or C, the Chinese?
Oh boy. The Chinese, the Egyptians.
You got to think about who's out there measuring things, using math, maybe building interesting structures.
Yeah, those pyramids are pretty, or you probably need a ruler for that. So I'm going to go with the Egyptians.
You're correct. The Egyptians are credited with developing the earliest known surveying techniques. All right. So we're tied
Oh
here.
boy.
This is going to be the decider. And this one, hopefully, if you took any surveying classes back in school, you'll remember this one. The surveyor's chain, introduced in 1620, is used for many of Canadian land surveys, the older ones that happened pre 1880s, is 100 links long. How many feet long is the chain?
Oh no.
Okay, 100 links, how many feet? Is it A, 66, B, 79, or C, 100?
No, you cannot ask this question. That is so cruel. I have no idea.
Yeah, so you got a 1 in 3 chance. 66,
Okay.
79, 100.
It can't be 100. That's too round. 79 is odd and probably a prime number, so that can't be right. So let's go 66.
You're right, it is 66. If you're wondering why, it's 1/10 of a furlong. Exciting information there. And 79 I picked because one link in the chain is 79.2 inches. You're right. Nice job.
Hey. Let me sit back and crack open this pina colada while I listen to your outro.
All right, here we go. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Spatial Report. Please check out our website at esri.ca/spatial report to learn more about the topics we covered today. We also post videos of our interview segments on the Esri Canada YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe to our monthly Getting Technical newsletter that highlights all of the latest news in our technology. This podcast is brought to you by Esri Canada, a technology company that empowers people and organizations by the science of where. We'll be back next month. Until then, happy mapping!